In this video, we're going to show you how we built this awesome chicken coop behind me. We mostly kind of winged this, and neither of us have ever built a chicken coop before, but even still, we got very close to exactly what we had in mind. We got a lot of features right, but I also want to touch on a few mistakes that you'll want to avoid. If fixed, we think this would make the perfect coop to fit the needs of our 3 proud, strong, independent hens that don't need no rooster.
And here we go. We start off by cutting our 4 legs, which are made from 4x4s, so these will be more than adequate to support this coop. We then decided to use 2x6s for the skirts and joists, so we cut those down to size 2. We found it easier to cut the skirts first and install them to the legs, then check for square and cut the joists to size. And with that, the skeleton of our base is done. Here we build a sort of frame, cover it with hardware cloth, and attach it to the base on 3 sides. The 4th side will be open to the run, so they'll have access to the underside of the coop. This was really one of the many places where we could have shaved off a lot of weight. We could have easily used something more like a 1x1 instead of a 2x4. That would have saved us weight and money. Just keep that in mind when you build your coop. Next, we put on a sheet of OSB plywood for the floor and just trimmed it flush with the base using a router with a flush trim bit. We found a really cheap roll of vinyl flooring at the big box store and used that to cover the floor of the coop. That way when it's cleaning time, we can just use a broom and everything should slide right off. The next step is to level the ground under the walls of your coop. Your chickens themselves aren't going to care if the ground is level, but if you don't have nice level ground under the sides where your coop is resting, then the coop is just going to be wobbling all over the place. So now that we have that area where the coop is going leveled and ready, we can begin work on the coop itself. I can see how the thought of building a coop can be intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. We start by building the 2 long walls and then install them to the base. You'll notice that the base of the wall comes out a little further. This is where the nesting box will be, and you'll see that come together here in a minute. After we built the frame for the front of the coop, we then come back and cut the bottom out. This will be where the door is, and by removing the bottom, we can easily sweep out the bedding straight into a wheelbarrow. For the shorter walls, we just cut those pieces to size and put them where appropriate. We really went overboard here, but all you really need are a few more 2x4s to connect everything together. From there, we take the primed panels and put them against the walls and screwed them on. Then we use a jigsaw to cut them to size and then flush trim them together with the router. Cutting them to size in place was a lot easier than measuring everything, cutting it, and hoping it fits perfectly. Not much to say here with the paint, but let me just say this. These panels soak up a lot of paint. We went through an entire gallon here. Expect to be dumping paint onto these panels to get them to the color you want. Now onto the trim. We went with PVC trim here, mostly because it didn't require any more painting. It really adds a lot in the way of aesthetics. PVC also won't rot like wood will. The window was just a simple frame with plexiglass attached to the back side. And there she is. We actually had some filming issues when working on the roof, so we don't have a lot of that footage, but we used a 3-foot wide roll of shingle instead of your typical roofing shingles. We also installed a drip edge around the entire roof. For air ventilation, we have the window and a few of those round air vents that you see here. There are some on the back as well to provide a cross draft. You can see here our coupe door is installed. This is an amazing automatic door. You can program this door to open and close as you see fit. We'll put a link to this in the description, but it's definitely nice to not have to worry about opening and closing the door. Any access inside this coupe is protected by hardware cloth, so our hens should be completely safe for a long time. Two big mistakes that should be noted here. One, we built this coupe with the intention of using the deep litter method, but the coupe door ended up only being 1.5 inches above the floor, so now we just have bedding always falling out of the door. It would have been better to lift the door further off the floor of the coupe. That way the chickens can still get in and out, but you don't constantly have this litter flowing out of the door. 2, I had to put a temporary piece of wood in front of the main door of the coupe on the inside so the bedding wouldn't fall out every time I opened it to add more bedding. This is going to make cleaning a lot more difficult because it will mean removing this wood every time I need to sweep out the old litter. So do yourself a favor and think this part through more than we did. If you have any questions about anything we've done here or how we did it, please let us know in the comments section.
Having your coop built doesn't mean your job is done. In fact, we're still looking at options to add a more permanent water and feeding system to our coop, so keep an eye out for that video as well. But more importantly, we've got foxes, raccoons, snakes, birds of prey. All of these predators and more are looking at your coop and thinking dinner. If you don't want to end up feeding your chickens to the wildlife, then you need to predator-proof your coop. So we invite you to check out our predator-proofing tour. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what else you'd like to see us work on the homestead. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.